one-sentence synopsis of your main theme and 2 specifics on how you plan to achieve your goal if you're elected.
My theme is taking Colorado common sense to Washington, and the specifics that I talk about are again on those issues. One of them would be on the area of regulation. Regulation is strangling our economy. It's now been reported that regulation adds $10,000 a year to the cost of every American job. It doesn't take an economist to say, if you can cut that down, we'll have more jobs. And I've put out a framework, a common sense framework, for stopping the flood of regulation and strangling our businesses. I guess the second example would be, and how do you accomplish this, would be in the area of taxes. I generally support the tax reforms laid out in Simpson Goals. And this is a bipartisan program laid out at the president's request because he wanted to kick the can down the road and then he threw the report away. But this is something that is a bipartisan deficit reduction program, and I support the tax reform part of it in general. And when you read it, you hate half of it. And you hate half of it because it's a compromise document. But that's how you get something done, is finding things that reflect your principles. In this case, it's much lower tax rates and getting rid of tax breaks as a platform for things that not only will appeal in the election, but that you could enact in Congress.
America needs to get back to work. Now, I didn't say the federal government needs to put America back to work. I said America needs to get back to work. That's my one sentence. How do you do that? You get out of the way. It's about as simple as that. If you're the federal government, frankly, if you're the state government, you get out of the way. You stop trying to put additional regulations and impediments to growth. You don't put up with a president who says, no, we're not going to build this pipeline now, you know, I'm not too sure. No. You let the energy potential of this nation, and I mean that in 2 different forms. One is the production of energy. We're being held hostage by our enemies because we buy oil from them. That is not necessary, not in today's technology. But we have to get out of the way and let... I was talking to an oil executive in Denver just a couple of months ago, and he said, you know, if we could just do our job in this industry, we'd have 1 million, 1,000,000 jobs, high-paying jobs that aren't there today in our economy. Now the second half is the energy of the people of Colorado and the people of this nation. I think of the economic malaise of the Carter administration. And if you recall back then, it just seemed like it was just a dismal future. And then Ronald Reagan came in and with a twinkle in his eye said, no, we can do better. Just that confidence and that can-do attitude is what we need to reassert in Washington. And it's not because we're going to direct, it's because we are going to get back to the basic principle that governments are established to secure our rights, not to run our lives.
Thank you. The last question is in honor of one of our candidates who's here tonight. We like to throw just a light question in to lighten it up a little bit. What's your favorite candy? And does it evoke any special memories?
Well, I'm sure the PC answer would be Jolly Ranchers because they're made in Colorado. But really my favorite is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. So I guess it evokes the special memories of the rare times when my parents would let me have candy.
Okay, I'm going to cheat. Because just about every year in the legislature, about the end of the session, there's this little package for Kingstrom's that's just incredible. And the, do we call it taffy or toffee? Yeah, I mean, it's great. It melts in your mouth. It's got all of the right components. It's just about the right crunchiness. But I must tell you that if it's been sitting in your legislative desk for 2 years and you find one more piece of it, It's kind of old and hard and crunchy, but it still tastes great.
I'll replace it.
Thank you both very much for making the trek down here tonight. Questions? Does anybody have any questions? Leslie?
Yeah, I was at a meeting today, and Bill Cadman, in the Senate, was talking about where Colorado ranks right now with private industry, and where we stand. We're number 38 right now in the United States in regards to creating jobs in the private sector, and we're number 4 in creating jobs in the public sector. So what can you really do in Congress, once you get to Washington, what can you really do for the state of Colorado in regards to creating jobs or creating an environment? I'd like to just get your insight on that.
I kind of spoke on this earlier. I don't believe we should look at it as a zero-sum game, that we just cut back until we have no growth on the private side and then, or on the public side and then the private grows. Because government does have a role, but we far exceeded it here in Colorado. We've done it because of the policies that several years of Democrat administrations have made, because they pushed the limit. Now, I'm not going to say Republicans are perfect, because we're not. I was in the legislature when we were fully in charge, and I was embarrassed for some of the policies and the projects we put in place. But, so you've got to hold the line on the private sector, on the public sector. Let me get this square in the brain here. The important part, though, is to grow the private side, is to allow the private side to grow. Private sectors grow when it's a friendly business environment, where the taxes are not too high, where the regulations don't choke things off. So that's what we need to do, and I can speak a long time on the state legislative side, but the federal side, it's sort of those big picture things. The Environmental Protection Agency has been a driver for destruction in our economy. They have gone far beyond what Congress had envisioned decades ago, and they have become the tyrant that holds us back. We've got to get them under control, or maybe just get rid of them and reinvent them in some, because there's a reason for clean air and clean water, but there isn't much reason for what they do to us today. So that's it. I see my time's about up. I'll hand it over.
Leslie, thanks for asking that question. That's a great question, and there are two challenges there. One is that the overall job creation is so poor, and second is that we're still growing in public sector jobs. Do you know that Colorado is the second largest concentration, behind Washington, D.C., of federal employees? That's one of the reasons you see that. So it's irresponsible people of both parties at both the state and the federal levels driving that growth. I guess I'll give you a piece on the regulation, just an anecdote. One of those employees, Denver Federal Center employees, is an inspector for the Consumer Product Safety Commission, enforcing a new regulation. One of my supporters owns a company that makes children's furniture. This inspector is making sure that they test every piece of paint for lead. Now, they buy their paint legally in the United States, where they haven't made lead-based paint since 1978. So you have a growth in the public sector with a completely pointless inspection, and you have a restraint of the ability of a private sector employer to grow and do its job. So that regulation is a key piece of why both of those are true. The other big thing we have to do to create the environment, and this isn't, I know you mentioned Colorado a few times, but really the environment is a national issue, at least it should be from a federal perspective. We have to get the top federal marginal tax rate down. That is the one thing we can change that affects job creation more than any other in the private sector. And that's the tax program that I put out, does that, and many other proposals, including the Ryan Plan, do the same thing.
Those are shocking. That's shocking to learn that we've got more public sector employees. Second only to Washington?
Colorado is second only to